Hi, my name is Poeartistry. I am excited to welcome you to James Poeartistry Productions. You are tuning into an incredible experience known as Poeartistry Gold, where we delve into the art of commentary, storytelling and poetry. We aim to bring you inspiring and thought-provoking content.
This is a Poeartistry Gold moment by the author James Lynch.
Welcome to the Poeartistry Gold number 93, Perceptive Readers. Hi, I am James Lynch talking to you. And today we're taking just a few moments to maybe review something that you probably haven't even seen. There are some writings still in manuscript and draft form from over the years of different books. I would still call them ebooks that would be major projects. But, I got a reference. Just like some of the many sci-fi writers in the past, Star Trek, etc., they actually have a lot of writings that they can still attribute to other sci-fi writers who just had them sitting around in manuscript form, and they for a while, when they first came up with the idea or the concept, they were going to come back to that in the future. Now, whether they did it or not, somebody else may have rented the desk, bought the desk, or what have you, and they found all those manuscripts or what have you, and they still develop stories even from them, you see. And that's one thing that, I like to mention, the persons for myself. I have written down a lot of stuff, over the years. Some of it was meant to be major. You see what I'm saying? Major books or what have you. But it was always designed to actually have some other resources connected with it. You see what I'm talking about? And so you work your way towards the resources that you needed or you wanted. And then once you get them, then that's when you go ahead and put into full production mode what you were going to do before. Now, that can take a short period of time, or that could take even years in the making. But all the same, just like what I'm doing today, you can get an idea of still some of the good stuff that is in that manuscript or draft or still being developed. Here's an example. Some of you would remember my development of Graduation with Poetry Flair. Now, in some of those drafts and even some of those poems that I put in there that, some of you haven't even seen of poetry, not all of that information, not even all of that poetry, would still be in that book per se, ebook per se. But all the same, because I was in that mode, I still wrote all sorts and types of poetry. Some of it literally would still go into one of the other books. You see that if I make another one in the future, ebook of The Sage and the Matrix or what have you, it would be in there. You see some of that poetry. But all the same, with the Graduation with Poetry Flair, here is something that I'll share with you, what I was developing, etc., placing in that book from some years back. And it was the understanding of the genres, and reading genres, and how I always emphasize that such things that you read, it still boils down to who you are as a personality and your conscience. It has certainly been noticed now from analyzing different people, your friends or what have you, at times, maybe without you even knowing it, different people are able to engage and even enjoy certain forms of entertainment, and boy, and that's all to it. It really, like, they just enjoy it. While others, it may actually drum up feelings, thoughts, even experiences in their life where they steer away from just certain writings, certain authors, even in certain genres. But they have that choice. But all the same, uh, in general, this stuff just falls into people's conscience and what they're doing and things of that nature. And I always say, and with their God. Okay, now here are the very, what I would call, uh, top level genres without being broken down any further. If you go to Amazon or any other type of book outlet, um, internet, you'll see these categories break down to the subcategories, and even under that, getting specific. Where I just wanted to at least share what I would consider the top level ones, that then people, may end up, uh, as I mentioned, breaking down further than that. But these are the top categories, I would say. Sometimes you can just reference, okay, where did that fall into? You see, quite possibly. And here is one. I like to start with the nonfiction writing. The nonfiction writing, even though it has that word fiction in it, make sure you notice it does say nonfiction. So that means that the writings are based on real events, you see, people, and facts. Yeah. Your school books should fall into that category, unless, once again, you're into English literature, and that's a different, uh, um, a different classroom setup and setting altogether. Because it's like when you go into English majors and things of that nature, remember, you're learning how to read and write, really, all types of genres. You see what I'm saying? And that's why you are able to be so articulate in your writings, your expressions, your understanding. What is it? The grammatical rules that you would use from old, I'm saying old, archaic English to even modern day English. And you have people, man, that are so good at that. But see, that's what I'm just saying. Where did they learn it? They learned it from not English majors, but language classes, where they studied all types of literature as well. Now, when you get into technical writing, see, that's what I would say again. You branch off into subcategories, and it's almost like, well, I'm really going into just writing manuals, SOPs, and things of that nature. Where, how I always say again, everybody should be able to write at least one complete sentence. And then I jumped that to everybody should be able to write one complete paragraph with no errors. And boy, that can even be a challenge sometimes if you really don't understand what you need to do to accomplish the job or the role. And that's why you have to understand, okay, what does this job really entails in this way or that way? Okay, so nonfiction really falls overall in everyday life. Okay, but then when we start getting into imagination stuff to help us stir, does it stir? Yeah, to stir our hearts, to motivation to action. Then that's where we start getting into the fiction area that can even take those facts. What am I saying? Historical fiction that can even take those facts and place them into like storytelling modes from different fiction, historical periods. And the reason why I call it historical fiction is because I used the example, recently about the Phantom of the Opera. It actually referenced a time period. It actually referenced the building, um, the nature, the entertainment of that time, uh, even um, almost like the Sleepy Hollow type of um, stories and legends and stuff that was told during that time, and the author put it all together. You see, put it all together, and he made his horror historical fiction, if you will. But the Phantom of the Opera, I wouldn't say is still a strict historical fiction, if you will, because of the horror. Um, Aspect to it, but even though that really doesn't matter, it just makes me think back to someone, as I told you, who was reviewing even the Phantom of the Opera, and they didn't even feel like it would fall into the category of classical. And I told you again, really, it does, but that's not the scope. That's just a side note if you want to do some extra research on that on historical fiction. Okay. And then you have, hey, this is getting into my favorite science fiction. Okay. And it is imaginative writing, technological concepts, and things of that nature. And we discussed this in a way where sometimes people were looking at different science fiction series or movies and shows, and they didn't feel that they were science fiction because, listen to this, they fully were thinking that whatever someone is mentioning in science fiction, even in technology, it has to be based in some type of facts, some type of rules of the galaxy, that this can actually be made, you see, or constructed. And as I was mentioning the last time we discussed about this, is that no, that isn't the case. That's the reason why, again, it's called science fiction. Someone can create, any type of invention in science fiction, and it don't bit more. Listen to me, bit more. I like to use that word sometimes. Uh, have any ground basis at all as far as whether it could be made, not only conceived but even made. And something else. This is as a side note, that remember from some of those old movies or old series, which are still around, like Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry. Remember those gadgets that he made way back then. We actually have them right now. We just call them by other names like cell phones. You see what I'm saying? Flat screen monitors. Now even holographic images and things of that nature. See, those were concepts when Gene was writing them. Well, we just didn't have the technology being used on that level or even capable. Remember, one computer back then would take up a whole building. Some people say even a whole block, and yet that same type of computer that took up all that room and space still doesn't hold a candle to what even our cell phones do today. So the point is, make your inventions in your mind, writing them in your books and things of that nature. And so then I just want to say, you have also fantasy, and then you have history, which gets again back into factual events. You see, your history books are supposed to be factual, you see. And granted, I always remember the statement that people say about history is always written by the victors. And yeah, I see why they say that. And yet I'm still finding out today in some of my research, uh, history of persons that were still actually transferred, communicated still through the different lineages of different family members so that it wouldn't be forgotten what this family member did. Yeah, and I know it's sometimes even the good and bad, but all the same, it's history that they still learn from, and the thing about it is, you get to a certain understanding, or some people say age in life, and you really can look at even matters, uh, a lot of matters, not all of them, because there's just certain emotional attachment that shouldn't uh, be lost, like when a grave injustice has been done. Like, we mentioned the certain accounts of the atrociousness of the way that slaves were treated, or what happened in Nazi Germany, or things of that nature. So that emotional content will always be there, where there's just certain things where people say, no, never again, never again will we allow ourselves to be lulled off into sleep, you see, or forced to just give up even certain sovereign rights, not only sovereign rights, but what I say, citizen rights and ethic rights as citizens and things of the nature, um, uh, Bill of Rights, the laws of the land, the United States Constitution, and things of the nature. All of those type of historical documents, you see, is what protects us from allowing uh, dictators of that nature to take over again, to ruin the world, families, people's lives. So, what am I saying? What I'm saying when I'm talking about the passing down of history, even from family, that even though history books may have ignored these inventors, these writers, these artists, or what have you, there are certain families that still made sure, I'm not going to forget you. I'm not going to forget you. Even if other people don't forget, even if other people don't view your contribution in this way or that way or what have you, you know, it meant something to me. And that's one thing that I always appreciate, that I did pick up also from the Holy Bible, a historical book. See, nonfiction is the way that when Jesus felt some way about a person, he didn't care what other people thought. You see, and it doesn't matter even if it's a group consensus to not like somebody. It doesn't make you going against God's law or rule, or what have you, just because you still treat that person in a humane way. I could go deeper on that, but I won't. But what I see want to emphasize, even with Jesus, that account, and I saw another beautiful account of this shown from one movie that uh, it was Jesus. I believe it may be in John chapter 4. I'm not really sure, where um, he was talking to that woman, or the Samaritan woman at the well, and they really broke down, if you will, all the reasons. I mean, the way they reasoned that, I said, now that was good. Now that was good. The way they reasoned, because see, in the Bible, the woman made a statement about, you know, why are you talking to me, Jesus? She didn't say, Jesus, why are you talking to me when I'm a Samaritan woman, and you're a Jew? Jews don't talk to us. But guess what? The way they did that scene, and the way that they used the other words that Jesus said, and brought out, factual stuff that was said, I'm telling you, it was so closely knit or written together about that. And even though you can call it a drama, I'm just telling you the way they did that scene. I said, now that was smart. That was smart writing, and the way that they did it. God, the way they did it. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is, when the woman has said, "Why are you talking to me?" You don't have nothing to do with my kind. They put in all the other aspects of why that woman would have said that even to Jesus, because of her own even lifestyle and experience. You see what I'm saying? That she had to, go through. And yet, you see, the women, and this is another side thought with that, you've seen the way that, and experience the way that women talk. We do it all the times. And see, and that's why sometimes, and I'm just saying this as a joke, that's why, I've talked about women overall, boy, they really do have a humility on a level that what they have to deal with, even when they know they're dealing with another hard-headed person, even of the opposite sex, the way that they have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis, the decisions that they even have to make at times may be decisions that even that person they're close with, you see, wouldn't appreciate it, but it's still almost like again, and I don't know why. I might need to drink some more coffee because I got names flying out. I've tried to remember several names, and they keep coming to me about different things. But the whole point is, it just remind me of, Nabal. Did I say his name right? That even his own wife, had realized that man was so disrespectful to King David, who was on the run, and it says that his name even means stupidity. Isn't that something? So, but the whole point is, living under conditions like that at times, she was showing humility, but she realized at times where she just had to do certain things and comport herself in a certain way to get stuff even done. Now, with that being said, uh, Jesus, the woman you see talking to the Samaritan woman at the well. That's all I wanted to mention about still imagination, even going into historical fiction. But overall, they do make a lot of movies, a lot of trailers, and even dramas that are so close to it, to the accuracy of what really was going on. That's why I wouldn't even put some of these in historical fiction, but maybe that's where I told you they break it down into other subcategories, which I won't even go into. So I wanted to just share these thoughts with you of the genres and the conscience and things of that nature. And I know I gave you a little bit of other additional information that I wasn't really planning on elaborating on. It's amazing that, like I said, the names of different genres and books people are written. It's like all those authors' names went out my mind briefly. And as I said, I'm gonna have to just drink a little bit more coffee, maybe stretch a little bit more, and those names I'm pretty sure all come back. Really, all of them have come back in my mind as I was talking to you, all except but one. But I can always look that up. So all the same, have a wonderful day, and thank you for being with me on this Poeartistry Gold. And this was number 93. Take care.